Hi everybody, Russ from my Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon so you're made aware of any time I put new content on. We will keep you going during the off season. Don't worry about that with your West Ham fix. So make sure you hit the bell icon. Send it round all your mates. We'll keep the West Ham community, the West Ham family going in this weird world we live in, particularly when there's no football now. Loads of great guests, including today's guest, actor, but more importantly, Hammer. It's Tom Aldridge. How you doing, Tom? How's things?
I'm all right, Russ. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. How are you? You must be like bouncing off the wall at the moment, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy time in my industry at the moment. I've been off since our show it closed down when all the theatres closed down in March. So yeah, and I think we're still. I think the big sort of West End shows are probably still a fair old way away from reopening. So yeah, I'm climbing the walls a little bit. It's an odd time.
Yeah, it must be weird as well because somebody's so used to feeding off a crowd and performing, and now it's like you get that buzz every night, and now you get
And I didn't know how much I had missed it, really, or how much I would miss it, because I hadn't had a break for about 4 years, which is quite like through luck, basically. Yeah. So you kind of you get into the swing of it, and you kind of forget exactly what the buzz is with it sometimes, when you're doing the same thing every day. Not that I don't love it every day, but yeah, it wasn't until it stopped, and then all of a sudden I was kind of like, what do I do now? Sort of trying to perform to my kids and stuff like that, just to get a laugh, and even they don't laugh at me. So
do you I always ask stupid questions, but can you, because you haven't done it for so long, like the show, can you remember your lines?
Well, this is the thing. I was chatting. Funnily enough, the guy who plays Draco Malfoy in my show came down to Leon Sea, where I live, and we had a few socially distanced pints by the sea, and we were having this, a few cockles, absolutely, and we were having this conversation. He's been in it for 4 years, and I've been in it for 3, and we tried to sort of, we were kind of waxing lyrical a bit about the show and sort of saying, that bit, and neither of us could remember our lines at all.
Brilliant.
So I think we'd certainly need at least a week's rehearsal, I think, to get it all back in there. Yeah. But with our show, it's there's an awful lot of technical stuff. There's an awful lot of it's not just your lines. It's making sure you stand in the right place so that you don't get burnt to death or fall down a trapdoor or something like that. So yeah, it's there's a lot of things to remember.
Well, I suppose it's like the footballers, isn't it? They had like 100 days off or whatever, and then they had to have 2 weeks to get back, and then they still couldn't kick a ball for toffee. It took them until the
when it first started. It was like all the first halves. Just you might as well have just written them off, wasn't it?
God, they're appalling. And looking back at it now, obviously all the stuff with Bournemouth now, potentially suing Hawkeye. That sort of innocuous thing, you sort of go, oh God, silly old Hawkeye. Like,
absolutely. And look at what it's cost them. I mean, you look at when we went down and Sheffield United sort of had a pop at us. This is so much worse, because Hawkeye, and it kind of seemed indestructible, didn't it? That was like the thing that you relied on, and it's cost Bournemouth, and it's terrible, unbelievable.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Tom, it's not that bad because as I said, Leon Sea, you got the sea air, the estuary air. I had to make
worse places to be locked down.
I'd love to live in Leon Sea. Actually, if I did, to be honest, I think I'd be about 2 stone heavier than I am now because I'd be in Rossi's all the time. Because we travel all the way from Hornchurch the other day on Saturday. Just my wife, just to get a Rossi's. And I was like, "Oh, get it in." No, it's got to be the soft scoop in the parlour. I don't like it. I don't like the soft scoop. I'll be honest, I find it a bit grainy. Anyway, but she loves it. Oh God, I need to drive all the way back again.
We've got a cracking one called Poco Gelato in Leon Sea. In fact, I got my wife to take the kids down there now, so they're out of the house. Yeah. So they are there right this minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a Rossi's man.
I'm a Rossi's man.
Yeah, they've been going forever, haven't they?
They've been going for a long time. I mean, I'm to be honest, I never really. It's only since I've been married to my wife that we really sort of knew about Rossi's. To be perfectly honest, she's a proper Rossi's.
Isn't there a Rossi's? Didn't there used to be a Rossi's in Hornchurch?
I don't think it's a proper Rossi's. Do you know what I mean? The thing is, that's what I always say to her. Look, he's the. No, it's got to be out of the tub. They do the tub thing, the spatch. That's what she has to have. So, we've had many a row over that. But or like a last minute dash down the A127 to get there before it shuts. But yes, anyway. But it's we digress as we always do on this channel. But well, we've done free promotion for Rossi's and gelato in Leon C.
Yeah, we can get free ice creams now, surely.
Yeah, surely we'll just post it. We'll post it to them, and I'm sure we'll get some vouchers. But yeah, it's weird. Isn't it? It's the whole thing with what's going on is weird, and obviously football's weird. And are you a sort of crowd noise on or crowd noise off type of guy?
I'm a crowd noise on, and I think the first 2 games after restart, I had it off, if you pardon the expression.
Yeah.
And then I switched over because I just found it really depressing listening to it. I found it quite interesting, hearing screams from the players and stuff like that. But yeah, then I was like, no, I need the crowd noise on. So yeah, since then I've switched it on.
Yeah. No, obviously at home games it's crowd noise off because I'm there. So, course, yeah. But yeah, and it's like all you hear is journalists tapping, which is really weird. But
how has that been?
Weird.
Really?
Well, it's weird. I'm just used to it now. I think it's gonna be weird when people are back in there now, because it's like I'm so used to like parking outside the ground, like literally by the stadium along the concourse bit. I'm so used to doing that. I think they're privileged, but I just like to park and walk for 2 minutes and I'm there. But no, it's weird. It is strange. You do get used to it a bit now. It's nice because you get to sort of have a chat with people a bit more. It's a little bit more relaxed. Particularly at half time, I can go to the toilet. I never go to the toilet at half time because we always have some game on or some half time entertainment. So it's nice going for a wee. Apart from that, it's just pretty much the same. I mean, I sit in that box anyway and don't really see anyone from 4 hours before kick off until about an hour afterwards. So I'm pretty used to it now. But I'd be glad when there's people in there.
Not getting anything back from the crowd and stuff.
No, I usually can feel because that whole room is made of steel. I can feel the vibrations of the fans on the floor, and that's when I know when it's loud because we haven't got any monitors or anything really in there, so I don't know how loud it is in the ground. And I can judge how loud it is because I can feel it on the floor. And if it's really rumbling, I know it's too loud, and if it's not, I know it's not loud enough. But yeah, it's a bit weird and. Yeah, I like to look out and see just fans, and obviously there's no one there, and it's just strange. And you have how many millions of pounds worth of players playing football, and there's no one there to watch them live.
Yeah.
It is weird, but they need to get some people back. And I think some atmosphere is better than no atmosphere.
I don't understand why they. Yeah, I mean, you could still have a fair few thousand people and be socially distanced. Surely,
totally. And I think actually that's one good thing for the stadium is it is easier because it is a modern stadium. Yeah. There's no way you could do it at Upton Park.
Absolutely not.
Just get in there. Do you know what I mean? Get in there. It's so tight and there's so much space so much space and the transport links and stuff like that.
There we go. That's the reason why we moved.
There we go. Foresight. They knew he was going to get a pandemic, like 4-year seasons afterwards. And it's just I tried doing it the other day. Me and one of the guys, we tried spacing it out, and I imagine it's going to be the same as the theatre when they get back. It'll have to be done in hubs, won't it? It can't be done in individual spaces because obviously you'll be say you went with your daughter and your daughter's 2 meters away. No, that's not going to work. It'll have to be done in social bubbles.
Bubbles of people that you can have, and I suppose it depends how big those bubbles can be. But I think until you can have a theatre that's 2/3 full, I don't think I can't see how theatres can return before that.
Because it's
really.
the same. It's the same as the footballers. It must be the same as you, Tom, in terms of like if you've got like a really not switched on. That sounds really cheesy, but like a really up for it crowd, you must feed off that. Same as a footballer.
Absolutely, yeah, completely. And you can usually, I mean, to be fair, you can usually hear it and feel it before the show even goes up, just by like the electricity when you're in the wings before it happens. And that's what I really miss.
Yeah,
that's magic when you're waiting in the wings and waiting for the show to start. But yeah, when you've got to switch and they need to be quite switched on for our show because it's an awful lot to take in. It spans an awful lot of time. So yeah, I really miss that. Yeah, I really miss it.
Yeah, and I suppose even more.
I've got a chair, by the way, that keeps making noises. It's not me farting. A proper squeaky chair.
Oh dear. Well, there you go. That's one thing you need to get when I get an IKEA and buy a new chair. But no, I know what you mean. I can totally understand that, particularly even more with the Harry Potter lot, because they're just crazy people.
Absolutely. I mean, there's incredible fans of Harry Potter and their knowledge of it is incredible. So yeah, we really need to be on it as well.
Yeah, no, totally. No, I can get that. Anyway, we don't talk about Harry Potter anymore or anything like that, or theatres or what's happening now.
Talk about football.
Exactly. Let's talk about the past, because that's the whole point. All the clever, Gio and Gonzo and Nicky, they do all the and Stel, and I'm probably forgetting other people, but apologies. They do all the current stuff and moaning about everything. We do nostalgia. That's why we're different. And so for you. So, the first question I ask everyone when they come on is, obviously you've got the shirt on. Why West Ham? Why is it your club? What's your story?
I think there's probably a lot of us that we didn't have a choice, really. And for me, I was a West Ham fan before I knew anything about football. It was just kind of, that's what you are. You're asked at school, and so I was a West Ham fan long before I can remember any players. That was just my team. And I was brought up. I had this one wonderful kind of functional, dysfunctional family with me and my mum and me granddad, or my papa as I called him, and my nan, and we all lived together. And my grandparents, my granddad, my papa, he was from Barking, from Ripple Road, same road as Bobby Moore. And my nan was proper East End, like had to be pulled out the rubble in the war where her house was bombed. So it was just, I didn't have a choice. And my granddad properly got me into football, and he was a diehard West Ham fan. So yeah, since I was born really. And then I suppose it was around, I was about 8 years old. It was that incredible summer of 1990 when I really became properly aware of football, and that's my first proper memory of football. And then, since then I've kind of been obsessed with West Ham.
Yeah, since then you just hooked, isn't it? It just gets into your clothes, doesn't it, more than anything, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that, when you have like an aftershave which you haven't used for a while, and then you open up. It's like me in my car, because you don't drive a fucking car anymore, do you? I opened my car and I was like, oh god, that smells lovely, and it's like my aftershave, but it's like an old smell you can't get again. It's just like that, and it's all memories, and that's the whole thing about. Do you remember your first game at Upton Park?
I do, yeah. My first game was it was the old it was Coca-Cola Cup back then, I think it was, and it was I suppose I was quite late to go into my first game, and it was against Walsall. We drew 1-1, and it was when I think it was Walsall. It's when Ian Bishop scored that great goal where he won the ball like halfway line, then ran it, and then smashed it in the corner. So that was my first game. And I'll always remember it. I just kind of remember the smell, which was pretty horrible, but at the same time, it's like you're after. Not that your aftershave was horrible.
It's sauvage. I was going to say as worn by Johnny Depp, but in present times, I don't think we should mention him anyway.
No, maybe not. So yeah, I'll always remember that smell, like the kind of damp pies. That's kind of how I remember it. And it was one of those nights. It was a nighttime game, and it was I'll always remember that smell. And so that was my first game. Loved it.
Yeah. And you're right. It's funny. It's like when I talk to people and ask about their first game, they're very much, and it's not. They don't necessarily talk about the football straight away. It's always like, and it's the memory and it's the smell and walking down Green Street and it's it's true and it's. I would love to bottle that burger smell. That you know exactly. The thing is, everyone knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's cheap mixed meats, mystery meat burgers, and it's like you just don't get that anywhere else apart from at West Ham.
It's not because you particularly want to eat it.
No,
it's synonymous with happy times. It's synonymous with Upton Park.
It's that smell, and then it's with a slight odour underneath of cut grass. That sort of you're like after the game. That sort of it's like odour up to park. I just that's the smell I can never and randomly you get it if you walk past a really cheap burger, like a cheap fish and chip shop, and it just brings me back. It's like the other day I was talking to my wife and we saying, I'm just gonna pop to Erkans. I was like, I haven't been Erkans for about 10 years. Where did that come from? I was going to own my cod in Hornchurch. There's another plug.
Oh my God,
now.
My cousin lives down that road where Omo Cod is.
Every Friday. I'm there every Friday. Literally phone up. They know my voice.
It used to be the Queen's Fish Bar, didn't it?
Yeah. They changed. Yeah. Yes. Do you know this episode's probably interesting for about 5 people who live in the Hornchurch, Leigh-on-Sea area, but I don't care. But it's true. Yeah. Yes. I go in and straight up. It's all ready for me. I get a special order. But it's true. It's like, I don't know. It's just things like it's weird. I must have smelt that smell earlier in the day, and it's popped Erkans in my head. And it's funny, isn't it, when you see it? And it's always West Ham memories. I never have any memories like that for anyone else. It's always got West Ham memories. It's really weird. It's like you blink. I was talking to a guy the other day. He says, I don't really remember how I started supporting West Ham, but I blinked and I was a season ticket holder for 25 years. And I was like,
that's amazing.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I always remember it smelling, and I don't actually remember seeing anyone smoking cigars, but I always remember it smelling of cigars as well. Like, particularly down in, before you went up the steps, there was always the smell of cigars, which was, I loved that smell.
Yeah, no, I get that smell, right? And again, another deviation. That smell always reminds me of old school Twickenham when you used to go to see the rugby, because they used to hand. I was very, very posh. So I was before I lived in Hornchurch, lived in Loughton. So there we go. But they used to hand out Hamlet miniatures. I remember that along the road, and you could that smell just reminds me of Hamlets. And I used to remember when I was young, when I was just started my first job, my boss smoked Hamlets, and so I started smoking Hamlets to be like my boss. It's the only I've never smoked a cigarette rather, but for some reason I smoked them on a Friday at the pub with him. Anyway, do you know what? It's a cathartic process. This
absolutely,
is
mate. Absolutely. I'm feeling better already, guys.
Good. I'm glad. I wish I had a pint. But no, it's the type of thing. So obviously, being a West Ham fan, thick not much thick, but mainly thin rather than thick. You must have had some highlights or some things, some memories which stick in your mind, particularly obviously going with your family and stuff. That
I mean, like, Derby wins. Good ones. I just can't. I've got one season that I particularly kind of feel like it was this incredible season, even though we only finished like 8th, and I think we got to the FA Cup semi. But absolutely. But it felt incredible. It was when Redknapp was in charge.
Yeah.
And it was that real transition where we had some of the old guard was there. Yeah. But we also had like Rio and Lampard and all that coming through, and it just felt like a really exciting time to be a West Ham fan.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I hark back to, is that season. I think it was like 98 or 90, maybe that 97, 98 season, and we still had like Dixon, people like that there. I think Ludo was still there as well. But we had this exciting talent coming through, and we got to the semi-final of the cup, and that's kind of where I hark back to, like happy times.
Well, it's true. Someone mentioned to me, and I've mentioned on the video before, that people, it's been, I don't know, some scientist or whatever, that your favourite type of music was when you was 15 and 16.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's true with football as well.
Yes.
So getting a rough idea, you're similar age to me, maybe slightly younger or something. But absolutely, I think that's probably literally, because that's the same, my era was that era, and as well, and that's the one I enjoyed the most. And I think maybe because I was 15 or 16, 17.
That era, 96 to like 99 was like my era that I just romanticize about.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I remember sort of hanging out down Upminster Park, having a snog down Upminster Park, and then running to watch Euro 96. And it's like, those were the days.
Those were the days, my friend. Yeah, no, it's true. But that era was just so funny because it just was so entertaining, and you didn't know what team was going to turn up, and you had a few nutters you had random foreigners would turn up, and you know what I mean? It was just like it was a true East End. So it was EastEnders. It did feel a bit like
it really was, wasn't it?
You had these subplots.
I wanted to ask you, whatever happened to Hugo Porfirio?
I don't know.
And once again, it might just be because that was like my romantic time.
Yeah.
But I loved Porfirio. I remember him. I just loved him. Absolutely loved him. But I don't know whatever.
What's ever happened to? We're 90. He's born quite close to my birthday. He was a bit older than me, but where has he gone now? Let's have a look. He left. He was a scouting. He was. Oh, this is exciting content for everyone watching me read. But he in February 2012, he was named by manager Ricardo da Sapinto as part of the backroom staff for Sporting Lisbon. Left his post, but he left in April 2013. So he's just gone off the radar for 7 years.
Oh, right.
Well, there you go.
I love him.
Porfirio. God bless
him. I remember when he was playing behind Ian Dowie that season when Ian Dowie, I don't think he scored an own goal, didn't he? With his head that year, Ian Dowie. And I don't think he scored any others. I can't remember now, but I just love Porfirio. I was obsessed with him.
Yeah, he was another one of those players. He played like 23 games. He probably played more games than Tevez. But and obviously he's obviously famously remembered for when we played, what was it, Wrexham away, and he'd never seen snow before.
Yes.
And what type of crap were we bringing in that time? Do you know what I mean? It's like, never seen snow. It's like, I mean, he's Portuguese. It's not like, but that's half the fun. And that's why we do the channel, because like you get random players like that come up and then you just start having a discussion about them and people go, oh God, yeah. And actually it's whether, what I quite like is that's why I like interviewing different generations of fans, because, for you and me, we never would have heard of Johnny Harris, or you might have done for your dad. It's like Johnny Sissons and John Charles, and they're all called John, it seems. John Bond, and all these type of players, and it gives them that sort of moment to shine again. And particularly for our era, Hugo Porfirio, and Paulo Futre and people like that. I mean, Paulo Futre, like bloody Steve Jones put him in his 11 because he's got a great story of Paulo Futre, and. Do you know what? The amount of times I just give the story away, I should just say, watch it here, but I can't be bothered. And then link it. Yeah, but Porfirio, Futre. When they used to do the cross country runs at the beginning of the down Hainault Park, Forest Park, they all turned up, and then this limousine pulled up. And the window went down, and as you go, and then there was Paulo Futre smoking a cigar with these dark sunglasses on. He flicked the cigarette out of the window, got out. He was all in kit, took his glasses off. I think he ran for about 15, 20 minutes, got back in the limo, went off.
I love it.
And that's why Jonah put him in, because he went, that's brilliant. Absolutely. He's I loved him. I love that. But yeah. Anyway, let's go to your 11, Tom. So. Yes. That was a clever segue. So the idea being is, it's the only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. You can pick whoever you want, whatever you want, whoever you want. Some people have a theme, some people don't. It doesn't really matter. It's just about players that mean something to you. So for the Tom 11, who would be between the sticks? Who's going to be your hands, safe pair of hands?
Probably the simplest decision for me on this 11, and that's Ludo McCloskey, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
He kind of it felt like he was always at West Ham from the moment I started. I remember when I first really got into West Ham, and I used to just memorise all the players, and Ludo was our keeper, and then it kind of felt like he was our keeper until I was an adult, which I think it probably was. Like, I think I was at I was like at secondary school when he finally retired, and he was our keeper until then, and he was just phenomenal, and I loved him, and I loved the chant that went with him.
Yeah,
Ludo McCloskey, I come from New Moscow.
That's how he introduced himself to people for many years.
Is it really?
Yeah. Famous. I can't. Someone mentioned it. That's how he introduced himself. I'm Ludo McCloskey. I do not come from the.
That's it, because he was Czech, wasn't he?
Oh, hello. We're back.
I see. Yeah.
So anyway, so as I said, Ludo. So that's what he did. So that's how he introduced himself. Yeah, I'm Ludo McCloskey. I come from near Moscow. I don't come from near Moscow.
Yeah, I was really sad when I heard that he actually didn't come from New Moscow. Yeah. I suppose it was pretty obvious because he had a Czech flag next to him, so I should have really just done my geography. But
but no one does. It doesn't rhyme. As Tony Gale said, Ludo McCloskey, I come from near Prague. It doesn't work. So it's very true. It's very true, Reg. But yeah, it was good fun. Good fun, Lugo, as well. You know what I mean? Nice guy. And I think you're right. For our era, he was like our definitive keeper, because most other keepers, Robert Green, 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, David James, couple of seasons
as well. I know that, some people got different opinions of him, but I felt that season when we stayed up, when we had Tevez and Tevez scored the last goal, I thought Robert Green was just as important in those final eight games or whatever it was that we stayed up, as was Mark Noble. I thought those 3 really kept us up. So I loved Robert Green and really wanted him to. I was gutted for him when he finally kind of got in at England and then let that terrible goal, underneath him. But yeah, for me it was simple. Ludo.
Yeah, Ludo. Right, okay. You go for your team as you want, Tom, man. You can do it as you want, man.
Right back. Should we go right back?
Go on. Yeah, sounds good, man.
So right back for me. My defence is quite old school. So right back, I went back. I went back and back to find a person who'd kind of nailed down that right back spot, which we all know hasn't been our most successful position, certainly of recent years. I personally wasn't a huge fan of Lucas Neal. I thought, and at the time he was on like such a huge amount of money. I know a lot of people have said that he was a fantastic captain, and I wasn't his biggest fan. And I basically kept going back and back. I know Ian Pearce played quite a few games at right back as well, even though he's centre back. I loved Ian Pearce. And in the end, I went right back to my first right back, which was Tilly Breaker. And he was another one like Ludo. He was just our right back, and he was, for me, was the last person that just nailed that spot down, and there was no question. So yeah, for me, Tim Breaker, long serving. He's my right back. Yeah,
and you're right, and he's and it's actually quite funny now because you've had time to like reflect and look at old games and stuff like people do, because they get a bit bored of Tiger King and whatnot. And it's all Australian ones at the moment. My wife's watching. It's like
Oh really? I watched Tiger King. You haven't watched?
Oh yeah, watched that. Yeah, we smashed that one. But but it's all Australian stuff, like Australian Love Island and Australia.
My wife started watching it.
Australian Love at First Sight, or Married at First Sight. Oh god! And now
absolute rubbish on the telly, isn't
They're
it?
like, oh God, I'm crying out for an EastEnders or something that's not a repeat, or it's
No,
true,
I
isn't
want
it?
it's a repeat because I've only done a couple, but if I can get some royalty checks through at the moment, that'd be really handy. So
Yeah.
actually, I'm going for an EastEnders repeat.
Come on, BBC. Let's put a plug in for them as well.
Looking for my third role on it now.
Trying to get a few of them on there, but we'll see. No, it's yeah. But anyway, I can't really talk about. Yeah, so looking at football. That's it. West Ham. So you're looking at the old stuff. I really underappreciated Tim Breaker as a player when I was young because you same age as you're very similar to me. You know, we didn't really. He was just in the team. Well, he was just in the team, right back, not a very glamorous position.
At the time, you didn't really appreciate it, but
No, and I told him that when I interviewed him. He probably didn't, probably give a shit what I said, but I just said, I'm sorry because I didn't appreciate you when you was and he was like, oh, thanks. Anyway, next question. But yeah, I like Tim Brake. You're right. We haven't been blessed with right backs.
No.
Goalkeepers, yes. Left backs.
Johnson probably would have gone on to be incredible if he stayed and played some more games for us. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, potentially Mr. Johnson is looking like an absolute worldy potential right back or left back, or in terms of when they play him, in terms of
Ben Johnson, absolutely.
I think, and we had quite a good run with a previous Johnson before that, not Roger, but I mean Glenn. And so I think you can see where they've gone a bit, not the whole sort of Ngakia situation.
Yeah, that was odd.
But you can see why, because I just think Johnson's a much better player. Just seems a lot more about him, and he's got the physical presence as well. He's a big lad.
See him as a left back or a right back. That's the thing.
You don't know.
And Ngakia on the right and Johnson on the left.
That would be nice. Yeah. I mean, the fact that they played him on left back against Villa the other day,
he was superb. I thought
he was brilliant, but you've always got that issue when you're playing a left back on a right-footed player on the left, cutting inside. But he played very well, and it could be a sign of things to come. You don't know. I mean, but although I was reading today, Southampton want Fredericks and stuff, so who knows what's going to happen in the next few weeks. But Timmy Breaker, we'll put Timmy in. You carry on, Tom. Who are you going to go for next, man?
Well, on the subject of left backs, I'll go with my left back, and that was another easy one for me, Julian Dix.
Yeah. Julian.
I think you knew that was coming before I even said it, didn't you?
Well, I did set up Raz Van Rat just in case. But Julian, he's the man, isn't he?
Julian was just another one. He was our left back when I first got into supporting West Ham, and he was just. I just utterly loved him as a player. I was a rubbish player, but I played a lot of sort of Sunday League and Saturday League football, and I was a left back, and I'm pretty certain I was a left back because of Julian Dix.
Yeah.
I just adored him, and that season when I think he ended up like he was. If he wasn't our top goal scorer, he was one of them because he scored all those free kicks when Ian Dowie was up front.
Yeah.
He was everything. He was just everything. He just epitomised West Ham, and I just loved him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, loved him. I scored one of those. I went and did the one of the old legends audience with at Southend recently, and it was Trevor Brooking and Tony Gale was comparing it. Dixie was there as well, and Tony Cotty, and some of Dixie's stories are brilliant. Yeah. When he was over at Hainault running, and he got on a milk cart and managed to get out of running.
True. Yeah, it's true. And you talk to the ex-players, and the stories are true. He would go and get a can of Coke and a Mars bar, and then go and play 90 minutes. And I think that's why I think people love Julian Dix, because he wasn't, from his physique, he wasn't a polished, he wasn't Antonio or Adama Traore. He's not, he was like a normal bloke. And he's the type of person you could see, not his skill, but the type of build, playing Sunday League football.
Absolutely.
And you always had that in the back of them. If he I could do it. Obviously, you couldn't. Exactly. But you know what I mean. And I think he was just so relatable.
Yeah, he was. But then at the same time, he was also technically a lot better than people kind of gave him credit. He wasn't just a hard man, you know. He was left foot of his was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and he got a move to Liverpool, you know, and I think it was shocking he never got an England call up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Really sad.
Yeah, but I think that has always been an issue with West Ham, you know, until Declan's come along. It has always been an issue with West Ham. And you see, you know, even before our time, you had, you know, the Bonzes of this world, Phil Parks, Alvin Martin. Although he played 86, you know, he got dropped for that game against Argentina, and you know, and so it's funny how but it happens more often than not, particularly from this channel when you're going through the list of players who haven't played for England. You're like, even Mark Noble, you know, how has Mark Noble not got, you know, bloody Lallana's got, you know,
absolutely.
Some, you know, and it's like,
when Southgate was coach of those under 21s for such a long time, and Mark Noble did all of those tournaments as captain, got them through to the final as captain, and just never even got one chance in the full team. I think it's a travesty, personally.
It is. Yeah. Anyway, so Julian's in.
Julian's in. Excellent.
Let's go centre backs then, Thomas. Who are we going?
Centre backs. Alvin Martin.
Yeah.
Alvin. It was quite. He's one of the players from that kind of era when we were really good that I don't remember, like the '86. You know, all around that time. But he was still there and still doing it when I first got into football. So, Alvin Martin for me was, and also kind of going back to what we were just saying, he was an England international, you know, and that just didn't happen at West Ham, you know, and so it was kind of for a long time. Alvin Martin was our England international, even after he'd been dropped, you know. It's like, Alvin Martin, you know. So I loved him, and I loved his affiliation with West Ham and the East End. And I know he's not from the East End, but he played for the Orient and then South End near me. And I loved him, Alvin Martin.
And that's the only one. And that it's funny. It's like I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about Alvin Martin and how it's one of those players that he'd probably get starstruck if he walked past.
Yeah,
like still now, and I do that because his grandson goes to my daughter's school.
Oh, really?
In the same year, and sometimes like Granddad Alvin would picking up the boy, and it's like that's Alvin Martin, and my daughter's like, who? That's only I won't know the kid's name, but it's only Dida's dad, Granddad. I was like, no.
Big Alvin Martin.
It's Alvin Martin.
I'm like that. I get really starstruck. I never get starstruck over actors. Like
no, that's your profession. So
footballers. I remember I bumped into Julian Fulbert in Lakeside once and nearly weed myself.
Love him. I love Julian. You know,
I get so starstruck over footballers. I really do.
Yeah, no, I do as well. Like, I've got you. I think some people just like that. You know, my wife. We'd be walking around and I'll be like, oh, you know, like not all the time, but I'll be popping out it, and she's just oblivious to it, and it's like, and it's I know what you mean. It's like with football. I've always been like it with footballers, and having been working in the club, it's like, you know, you don't. It's weird, but even more so since you moved to London Stadium, because you don't. I used to go in the same entrance, so I used to sort of share a lift with James Collins or whatever. Now it's like you know, if you don't really see him, but because they're all in the press box now. It's like the other day, like Don Hutchinson was there, and I was like, oh my god. Brilliant. And I was going, I need to go and talk to him because I want to get him on the channel, and I didn't because I bottled it. But I would text him. I would rather go up to him. But I know what you mean. It must be. I can imagine that with actors because it's like your profession, isn't it? So it's like unless it was a big like a De Niro, I'd imagine. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, but I mean, we've had some massive actors come and see the show.
Of course,
It's a really popular one, especially sort of American film stars come over and they want to see Harry Potter, and it's lovely to meet them, really lovely. But I don't get starstruck like I do over seeing Julian Fulbert in Lakeside. Just like,
I love it. It was something like I was talking to a guy, Nigel King, who's a lovely guy, and he was going for his team. I met him. I saw him in Blue Water. And I said, "Do Do you just like, have you got a tent in Bluewater and just like, wait for, I met Billy Bonds in Marks and Spencer's. But that's the idea of this thing, because everyone's had their own story. I mean, Julian Faubert, is that, yeah, I mean, I remember when I used to work for, what was it? It was probably Safeway at the time,
Right.
in Loughton, and all the players lived in Loughton. So you'd see Shaka Hislop because he was like taller than all the stands. I remember once serving Samasi Abu. He was trying his shopping. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I love all that story, and you don't get that anymore now.
No.
Players are like Uber, you know, like Lanzini's or whatever. They live in Canary Wharf in some, God knows, penthouse suite. You don't get that interaction that you used to nowadays. That you see when I back in the day, and I think that's sad because, like as you said, bumping into Julien Faubert in Lakeside, it's brilliant. And it just seems to be now everything's so uber professional. You don't get that anymore, which is a real shame.
It's really
But
sad.
it is really sad. I mean, particularly like for your daughter and like my daughter's similar ages, you won't get that where as I said, you're at McDonald's and Sebastian Haller comes in for a Big Mac. It won't happen.
It won't.
Le Big Mac, obviously, but no, it's a sad thing.
I can imagine Antonio going out and about though. I can imagine if there's any, I can imagine him. I think it is, not. I think it is based on the more British-based players. I think you're right. You could see Declan Rice in a Nando's. That's great. That's a new section of the show. Where, like, restaurant.
Yeah,
This player eating.
Yeah,
Declan
definitely
Rice,
Nando's.
Definitely a Nando's.
And I would say probably Jared Bowen and Nando's.
He might be.
Although he likes a sheesh. He likes a sheesh in Chigwell based on his Alan Sugar's place, based on Instagram.
Really?
But but takeaway, I think. But Mark Noble, Nathan's pie and
KFC?
mash.
Oh yeah, of course.
Pie and mash.
Pie and mash,
KFC, I think KFC. I reckon you'd be looking at someone like that's a good one. KFC, probably. I reckon a Diop or someone like that. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it's a global chain, but it's chicken and I can see. Yeah. I couldn't see him down Chicken Cottage.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's a good. It's brilliant.
Buy a glass of chicken.
Exactly, and obviously Egg Bonner in a Pizza Express.
Yes. Oh, superb! Yeah, I love him. I love him.
Yeah, I do. I think he's been great. I love Egg Bonner. Anyway, back to the team.
Sorry, we digressed. I do apologise.
No, I like it. I think it's a new section of the game. Right. Okay. Alvin Martin. Okay, next centre back. Sorry, we need another centre back. Who are we gonna have?
Well, you just mentioned him, James Collins, my next centre.
Yeah.
And that's kind of he's my first player of like the modern era.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's more a kind of romantic entry, just because we all love him, didn't we? And I think he was everything that a West Ham fan loves. He properly wears his heart on his sleeve, puts himself about, gives his absolute all. He's a character. And it never really felt like he was first choice on either of his roles, really.
Yeah.
But I always wanted him to be, and I think there was a lot of us like that. But yeah, I love James Collins.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I've thought that actually the spell that he had in between when he went to Villa, and it was him and Richard Dunn, wasn't it? And they were superb together. And then so when he came back, I was really excited to have him back. And still he didn't get a proper run in the team. But yeah, I just adored him.
He definitely came back. I don't remember. I'll be honest. I don't remember him the first spell.
Well, it was Gabidon, wasn't it? Because Danny Gabidon and him arrived around about the same time.
Yeah,
and they were both Welsh players, but it was Gabidon that was the kind of first choice centre back, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And he was always on the peripheral, but yeah, I don't remember being gutted when he left the first time.
Yeah. No, I was saying.
Absolutely gutted when we didn't offer him another contract.
Yeah, I think everyone was. Particularly the players, by the sounds of it. But but he came back, and he came back a better player. Obviously, him playing with Richard Dunn, he came back as like the chiselled veteran. Do you know what I mean? He had like a bald head, and we love players who've got bald heads. James Collins, I could see at the old seafood place down your. I reckon I could see him eating there with like a real nice, like one of those green jackets with a flat cap, eating some winkles.
Yeah, having a couple of whelks.
Yeah, I could just see him doing that because he's still is around the area and stuff. So
right.
yeah, we'll have a word. All right, okay, that's James Collins. That's your defence, right? Let's go into midfield. Who are you going to start with then, Tom?
Okay, so I'll go. I'll start with left midfield.
Yeah.
And I know it wasn't his desired position, but he played there a bit for us and a bit for England, and he's one of my favourite players ever. And it's Trevor Sinclair.
Ooh,
I absolutely love Trevor Sinclair. He's one of my favourite ever players. Wherever he was playing, I loved him.
Yeah.
Thought he was fantastic. Ever since that overhead kick he got PPR, I was like, who is he? He's incredible. And when he came to us in that kind of exciting time as well. When he was another one of those who was around when some of the old guard were there, but we were bringing through Rio and Lampard, and Sinclair came in around about that time, and that cross for Di Canio's goal as well was just sublime. I absolutely love Trevor Sinclair, and I think in the modern day, when we've got the kind of we've kind of swapped wingers, haven't we? So it used to be you get to the byline, you put a great cross in, but now it's very much focused on cutting in on your favoured foot. I think Trevor Sinclair cutting in on his right, I'd love to have him.
Oh yeah, he was just the right person for the right role, wasn't he? Just slotted in like he meant to be in that position, and
absolutely,
arguably completely resurrected his career because he was going on a QPR. He had everyone knew about the bicycle kick and stuff, and he had the dreadlocks, and then he's just like, and then he came back and he went back in the squad for the World Cup, and then Man City off he went. But I loved him. I loved Trevor. And what I really like there's some players who really interact well with fans on Twitter and stuff.
Absolutely,
and Trev's one of them.
Yeah, well, Trev, he actually started following me on Twitter when I was in Les Mis, and I can't quite remember how it happened, but I remember the notification coming up saying Trevor Sinclair follows you, and I was running around my dressing room going, he's brilliant. And I think it's just because he just interacts really, really well. He just loves to hear from fans, and he's brilliant. He's a proper fan player, and I love him.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah. And the little girl who's singing there at the castle, going, "What's going on there?" No. That was like my daughter's first song she learned to sing.
Castle on the Cloud.
Oh yeah, Castle on the Cloud. Yeah, brilliant. But I know what you mean, and it's weird, isn't it? Like a follow or a like is the modern day equivalent of an autograph, really, because autographs are naff. Well, it's like a self, and it's like, I mean, Trevor, when he likes my ones, I'm like, oh my god, Trevor Sinclair likes my thing. I'd Rio like comment on one of my posts once, like, when I interviewed Tony Carr. And he just went legend, and I went, "You talking about Tony or me?" Then nothing. After I said, "Are you going to come on my show?" And he was like, "No," he didn't say nothing. But and he was, Trevor's one of those, lots of interaction. There's another couple, Bish, as well. He's brilliant, and it makes such a difference, just to. From a fan's perspective, you think, God, these guys still love the club and stuff, and
absolutely.
It doesn't take a lot, does it? Just a lot. You got to just click the little heart button, and that's it. You're done, man.
Absolutely,
and makes a lot. Okie dokie. Right. So Trevor Sinclair is in. Next player, then.
Where would you like me to go? Right, centre mid or right mid?
Just go across. Go centre mid and go.
My first centre mid's got to be Nobes.
Yeah.
Got to be Nobes. I think he may well be the last of a kind, really, a last of an era of people like the one club. I'm sure there'll be people that will only play for one club, but to play that many games for one club. When you think as well that we don't play in the Champions League or Europa Cup, we don't have an awful lot of extra games for him to play. For someone at West Ham to play 500 games is a lot harder than someone at City or United to play.
I know what I mean.
And I think he may well be the last of a breed of person who plays that many games and be a one club man. And for me, similar to Julian Dix as well. I think people, myself included, sometimes forget actually what a great player he is. And like I said earlier on, that season when Tevez kept us up on the last day, I thought his performances were just as important in the build up to that with him and Rob Green.
Yeah.
And I think, I think for him not to have got an England call up, I think with the passion that he played, I think England have just missed that kind of player who just, puts everything into everything. And I love Mark Noble. I love Mark Noble, and I know we give him a bit of a hard time sometimes, but it's it's in, I don't know if you saw Jamie Redknapp was interviewed after one of our games on Sky, and he said, a lot of the homegrown players at West Ham are the ones that get the stick. And he's right, actually. I sort of don't think I had a little think about it. I was thinking, obviously there's Frank Lampard. He used to get a lot of stick, and everyone's got their own opinions on Frank Lampard. But you look at like James Tompkins as well. He was another one. Sort of, it felt like we all jumped on his back. It feels like those homegrown players. We're so desperate for them to do well.
That's what it is. What it is. We have so much more invested in them. It seems than I don't know, like a Luis Jimenez, for example. There's a blast in the past. But it's true. We do invest so much more love into the player, and it's like, with Mark as well. I think people, although it seems the last sort of since restart, we've found this position which seems to just work for him at the moment.
10,
It's weird, I never really thought Mark Noble would be a 10, but it sort of works at the moment. But I know what you mean. He's the last of a very, very. He's a dying breed, having a player who would play that many games for that club, let alone West Ham, but let alone Premier League at all. And having a testimonial, is extremely rare in the modern day. Back in the day, well before our time, every year was a testimonial year, but now you don't get that. And
remember Julian Dick's testimonial when there was it was like 20 players having a brawl.
Oh, it's just like, but it's funny when he interviewed Tony Gale, he said, I really fucked up on my scheduling because his one was on a Sunday and they'd played at home on the Saturday, so no one's going to go to 2 games, and he had like 8,000 people. They're playing at Republic of Ireland or whatever. He's like, I buggered it right up, to be honest. But at least you're honest, because then they actually need the money, weren't it? Really, as part of their retirement package. But you're right. I think a lot of people would love there to be at least one more person who scores 500 games with being Mr. Rice, but he's done 99 Premier League games already.
He has already, yeah. It doesn't feel like he's been around long enough to do that. But
and to play every minute of every Premier League game. There's only 4 other people, or he's one of 4 or something ever. I don't think no one's made enough of that. You know what I mean? No. It's a huge achievement. And I just think Mark's got so much to give to the team and to the club that next year we know he's going to be club captain. And probably Decker's going to be team captain. That's happened before.
We're all ready for that, I think.
Yeah.
But I think I do like it.
And it's nice to have a player who's a fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I just think he just brings so much. I've seen him sitting in a disabled bays at the moment, where that's where the squad that aren't picked sit for the games, and he's like a fan. He's a fan. He kicks every ball. He was like when Yarmolenko scored that 3rd goal against Chelsea, and he literally, as soon as that whistle was gone, he leapt over the barrier, could have buggered his ankle up nowhere, and just to get down the touchline a bit as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's a proper fan, and that's a proper captain, and he's
proper captain. That's the right way of describing him, definitely. All right, Nobes is in. Who's next?
Michael Carrick is my.
Oh, good on Mickey Carrick.
Now, Michael Carrick was probably the player and I know it sounds crazy, but he was the one I was most gutted about losing in that generation. I know we brought through all those incredible players, but Michael Carrick, I felt he was he was the one who we kind of relied upon. You know, you could kind of lose Frank Lampard from the team, and you could lose Rio from the team. You know, I know Rio went on to be probably of his time one of if not the best centre back in the world, but he wasn't that for us. You know, as far as and I just felt that Michael Carrick was, when he was with us, was far more integral to our team than any other of that golden generation. And you know, and he came down with us as well and spent a season down with us. When, you know, a lot of the others seemed to want to jump ship. And yeah, I just loved Michael Carrick, and I thought he was superb player, and probably the one that you could tell he was going to be incredible. Whereas I think with a lot of the others, you know, like Frank Lampard, you know, we were a bit surprised at how brilliant they became, you know. But yeah, with Michael Carrick, I wasn't surprised, because I always thought he was fantastic.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And he's done it every club he's been to. So obviously us, he left, and there's a massive hole. Spurs, then massive hole. And Man United, he retired, massive hole. And I think to be fair, he goes under the radar a bit in that conversation when you talk about the golden generation, because it is about Rio, it is about Frank, it is about Joe, and he's always seems to be the fourth one. And I don't think that's fair, because I think of what you said, he was always going to be he blossomed a lot quicker than the others, I think.
Absolutely.
And he always had time. You know, he wasn't quick, but he always seemed to. I don't remember him ever giving the ball. I mean, sure he did, but maybe in my claret tinted glasses. But I don't remember him giving the ball away, or he always just seemed to be composed. You know, a bit like Trevor Brooking back in the day, by all accounts. He would just get the ball. Wasn't quick, but he'd always have time and beat a man. And
we don't often have a lot of composed players at West Ham.
No, God, no. We certainly don't. Right, okay, Carrick is in. Who is next? Who's on the... We're going right wing, probably? Right midfield?
Right wing now. So once again, I've kind of swapped them. Joe Cole on the right wing.
Yeah.
Now, I know Joe wasn't really... I feel that he's kind of... His career was ruined a bit by Mourinho playing him as a winger. I think he could have been, you know, great in that kind of Gaza role, you know, that he never really got a proper chance to do anywhere. But yeah, I put him on the right wing. I know that's not where his favoured position would be, but I just thought he was probably the most naturally gifted player that has come out of that academy, certainly in my lifetime anyway. And he was the same age as us, you know. He was. I remember. I remember when he made his debut, and it was like, oh my God, you know, because it seemed like we'd heard of Joe Cole forever, since he was like 12 years old. Have you heard about this kid? And it was like we were all waiting for the day that Joe Cole became old enough to play for the first team. And then when he did, it was so exciting. And because he was, I think he's exactly the same age as me, and so it's that kind of. When he retired, I was like, okay, there's really no chance now for me.
They're definitely going to break into a late run and Ian Wright style approach, you know, ascendance into the Premier League,
Yeah, but I thought he was fantastic. I love Joe Cole. My mum's partner was a plumber, and he redid Joe Cole's bathroom. And so he had to take out all of Joe Cole's, you know, old bath and sink, and he put Joe Cole's toilet in my mum's downstairs toilet. So every time I sat on the toilet at my mum, I'd always choose to go downstairs, and every time I was like, Joe Cole sat here. I just, you know, I'd imagine what Joe Cole had done on that toilet.
Oh, you know, I know what you mean. He seemed, you're right, because we knew about him from the age of like 12 or whatever, he seemed to have been at the club for years and years and years and years. It's like, in retrospect, not compared to the rest of his career, he sort of bookended it at West Ham before and after. But you're right. It was like I was listening to the other day. Obviously, Fergie would phone up Harry every week. How's the magician coming on and stuff like that? And it was a shame because you're right. He would have been if they. I mean, no one plays with a free role now. It's the only trouble now. Everyone's two positioned, but he was your archetypal free role player.
Absolutely.
And if only. If only he'd be revered in the same. I mean, he won bloody loads of stuff already, but who knows what he could have achieved if he. Same with like Rio. I think Rio got ruined when he went to Man United. I think they took that sort of attacking ball coming out of defence side of his business of his game out, and again he could have been in the same breath as Barese and people like that. But
very true.
But all right, we'll put Joe in. Right, Joe is in. Let's go obviously up front. We're going up front now.
Up front, another easy one, Paolo Di Canio.
Yeah.
I just adored him. And it feels like, I know he played at loads of clubs, but I felt like West Ham was his club. I felt he kind of, it almost felt like he was an academy player. I know he was like virtually retirement age by the time he came to us, but it just kind of felt like it was always meant to be that Paolo Di Canio came to us. I just adored him, and he was, harking back to that romantic time when it was exciting to be a West Ham fan. He was very much a part of that, and I loved him. Yeah,
he was brilliant. When he just box office, wasn't he? He was part of that Redknapp sort of 7 years. I mean, Redknapp was a manager for 7 years. You don't get that anymore now, But he was just box office, wasn't he? He was like, you go to a game excited about what would happen. You just didn't know what was going to happen, what subplot we was going to have. What protagonists were going to come in. Was Paolo going to have one of his games, or was he going to have his mesmeric games? Didn't know, and that's why people loved it, because he was so. He was just, I mean, as I said, the guy's got a bloody West Ham tattoo. That's
absolutely, that says everything.
That just puts me, because I mean, I haven't got one, so it's like, he's fair play to him. Okay, right, Paolo is in, and who is the last?
Paolo's in, the last one, and I've still got both names down here because I still cannot decide. One's Tony Cottee, but and I love Tony Cottee. He lives around the corner, and I saw him running along Southend Seafront the other day, and he still looks like he could put in 45 minutes for us. Actually, he looked good. But I think with Tony Cottee, it's very romantic. By the time I got into West Ham,
you're right.
He already had his glory day, him and McAvenny, and so my love for Tony Cottee is more what I've learnt about him rather than Russell. He came back and did pretty well. Scored a fair few goals for us, but he didn't light us up like he did that first, which I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, and my other one is Tevez, because and that's because he's for all the other reasons.
Yeah.
I went to all of those games, certainly the latter half of that setup, because of what I do for a job. It needs me to be out of work for me to go and see West Ham, basically. I work days and evenings. But I think, I managed to go to all of those games in that season that we just stayed up, and so I got to see him, and I got to, I really got to experience Tevez, and just thought he was phenomenal. And of course, we all learned, in later years that he's got no loyalty to anyone, Tevez. But at the time, it really felt like he gave us his all.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Tevez. I'm going to go Tevez.
I think it makes more sense for you, as you said. You got a more. I think the Cottee thing is more, as you said, romantic. Tevez has a real, with you in that particular time.
Absolutely.
But you said, and actually, there's a cracking story that when I interviewed Anton, he told me about Tevez, in that he really, really, really wanted to integrate himself with the West Ham players.
Right.
Mascherano not so much, but Tevez did. So much so that they did, like, you can imagine them all then going to a London nightclub or whatever, and they did. And Tevez turned up with his interpreter, and apparently was on the dance floor sweating like buckets, and his interpreter was interpreting everything he was saying to the boys, who were then talking, and it's just like, I can just picture it, some sort of Argentinian tango dance from Colitos, and you're right, he just, and the other day he said that, the only team will come back to in Europe would be West Ham, and you think he's played for United, City, Juventus, and he'd come back to, that's mental. I mean, the whole thing around it, and that's why it's not just him, the way he played, but obviously the way he joined, and just the weird, I was the man of the water cooler, when he started, clapping my back. Oh, well done, Russ. Yep, thanks. I did all that. I negotiated the whole thing myself. And even talking to the players, when I interviewed like John Pansel and people like that, and they're saying, "What was it like? What was it like?" And he's like, one day he just turned up to Chadwell Heath and there's 2 international players there. I didn't know what to do, and he was like, "Football is just football," but that was just so weird. And it just, the whole thing was strange. I mean, I looked at the picture the other day of Pardew with both of them, and they looked like they'd just been not off the boat, but it was like they'd just been like, kidnapped, and they were coming out. They were like, where am I? Yeah, okay, right. And then you've got to go to Chadwell Heath. So you got to go. So where the Moby Dick pub is, you got to go down there. What like just dumped into the East London. Like, what am I doing in Essex, man? But that was good fun. Tom, man, it's been great. It's been lovely.
Thank you. I could have sat and chatted all day. It was lovely.
Me too. And sometimes I have to stop myself because I know I could easily go 3 or 4 hours without really doing it. But anyway, we'll we'll meet for a winkle at Lee. So we'll do that. So I'll be right. And thanks, mate. I really appreciate your time, and obviously, sending the kids off to the ice cream parlour. It's brilliant.
Come back now,
yeah, come back. Okay, I bet they didn't bring you nothing back though.
No, of course they won't.
Of course they didn't. But anyway, cheers, Tom, and obviously thanks everyone for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Until the next time, for me and Tom, take care. Come on, you irons. You've got to do it. You just got to do it. One person does it. It's like the Macaroni. And until next time, take care, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you again very, very soon.